Hi, this is John Hand, and on this episode of the Eurocult, we're going down Nilbog Way for, yes, a discussion of Troll 2.
Goblins don't exist. Goblins don't exist.
And remember, they're eating her! They're going to eat me! So dizzy.
Kids with a sweet tooth like yours love ice cream.
Delicious and purifying.
Holding you for the sacred power of the magic stone. No!
Oh my, Troll 2, no relationship to Charles Band's original Troll, an unofficial sequel, like many unofficial Italian sequels to American productions like Zombie 2, and go down the list. Troll 2 is a film which could have languished in obscurity. It was just another one of those Italian films made at the end of the 80s, the beginning of the 90s, a film mirage production. Joe D'Amato's Italian director and filmmaker Joe D'Amato's company, Film Mirage, directed by Claudio Fragasso, aka Clyde Anderson, a well-known Italian screenwriter. And at this point, he was getting into directing. He wrote a lot of screenplays for Bruno Mattei. He wrote Rats, Nights of Terror, or Night of Terror. I don't know if it was a singular or plural. And Rats, Night of Terror is pretty much one Night of Terror. Hell of the Living Dead, a.k.a. Virus, that wonderful Italian zombie film with the Dawn of the Dead Goblin soundtrack, with all that ridiculous stock footage in it. He worked on Zombie 3 with Bruno Mattei. He was one of the long list of writers and directors who came in and tried to fix Lucio Fulci's mess in that film. And also he directed and wrote Monster Dog as Clyde Anderson, that wonderful Alice Cooper film, Italian horror film from the late 80s. And he directed and wrote this film, I believe. I don't know. I don't know if there was anyone else involved in the writing, but anyway, Claudio Fragasso shot it in the United States, around the Salt Lake City area. Shot it around 1989, and I mean, it was just one of those Film Mirage productions, you know, just like another stupid Emmanuel film or whatever. Released by Columbia TriStar on VHS in the United States around 1992. And again, as I was saying earlier, it was just another one of those films that people who were Claudio Fragasso Italian horror film geeks might have, you know, checked out, looked upon. But the thing is, this film is so weird. It's so impenetrably strange, and there are parts in it, there are lines in it that go beyond the usual standard of late 80s, early 90s Italian horror badness, which was, again, we're, you know, from the early 80s, from the heights of Lucio Fulci and Dario Argento, towards the late 80s, we're doing, like, Fatal Frames and, you know, Lamberto Bava's making God knows what. This is, again, a few years after Demons and Demons 2. This is This is not Demons and Demons 2 category. It's not in that caliber. So, yeah, Troll 2 is just so bad, but at the same time, people began to recognize, I think, throughout the late 90s, that this was a special bad movie, that there are lines in this film which you can get behind, and just like The Room and just like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, you can create a whole audience participation experience around this film. And so, as it happens, a few years ago, Michael Stevenson, the young child actor star of Troll 2, who had grown up, began to start to produce a documentary about the making of Troll 2 called Best Worst Movie. And there were these viral videos, probably some of the first viral videos to show up on YouTube and Dailymotion and around, and it began to kind of build and build and build. And then other cast members began to get involved. George Hardy began to get involved, the father in Troll 2. And it became a kind of movement. It became probably one of MGM's most highest profile catalog properties. You know, if you go on the IMDb, there's all of these, studio stills from Troll 2 that have like the stamp of MGM on it. I mean, not even Danger Diabolik has this kind of high profile, not even like Mario Bava's like genius classic film, no, it's Troll 2. And so that's how I see it. It's the little Italian horror film it could. It has a more higher profile than Zombie or Bird with a Crystal Plumage, or probably even Suspiria. If you asked a group of cult film fans, Suspiria and Troll 2, I'm sure there is a certain quotient of them which would have no idea of who Dario Argento was, what Suspiria was, but would immediately get Troll 2 just because of the amount of penetration. I mean, the Troll 2 has been, when Best Worst Movie was eventually released on DVD and Blu-ray, I believe. it was in Walmart. I mean, it was just the kind of exposure that this film has had in the past few years is really quite a phenomenon. And I think, as George Hardy says in this interview here, it's like the Rocky Horror of the MySpace generation, which is kind of funny because now we're into the Facebook generation. We've already gone past MySpace at this point. But what I'm going to present to you here is the audio from some footage I took at a Troll 2 screening in Pensacola, Florida in 2008. This was one of the first screenings of Troll 2, with George Hardy's blessing and everything. And as he says in the Q&A and before the Q&A, this is like the 17th screening he's had of Troll 2. Went by relatively well, and there was a really great spirited Q&A with George Hardy after the screening. So what I'm going to do is play a little bit before the screening and after the screening, the Q&A, and I hope you enjoy it.
Good evening, everybody. Oh, yeah, that was really enthusiastic. Let's try it again. Come on. Good evening, everybody. Much better. Welcome to the Cult Film Festival. Second night. Last night's Shaun of the Dead. Tonight, very special event, Troll 2. I just want to point this out to you so you don't complain and try to get your money back. There are no trolls in Troll 2. So do not expect to see any tonight, okay? But first, before we get started with all this, we're going to bring up our special guest, Mr. George Hardy. Come on over, George.
Why are you sitting so far back?
George plays Michael Waits, the father in the film tonight. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit. We're going to have a Q&A directly after the film. We're actually going to show the trailer for the documentary that George and Michael and some other people from the film are working on called Best Worst Movie. We're going to show that trailer, and then we're going to have a Q&A with George so you can ask him any questions after you see this thing. I mean, your first question should probably be, what the hell? But so, George, you want to say a few words?
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much for coming out tonight at this time of night, especially on a night like this to to see Troll 2. I don't know if you guys know this, but this is our 17th screening in the United States, and we just got back from Europe. And we showed, we were in Budapest, Hungary, and London, and Paris, and Austria, and we showed Troll 2 in Birmingham, England. And just like this, it's almost a sellout crowd every day. So a lot of times it's a sellout wherever we go. But a lot of people call this the MySpace Generation's Rocky Horror Picture Show. So tonight, how many people have seen Troll 2? Woo! Well, the ones that have seen Troll 2, if you guys will help out, and there's going to be some scenes in here that are so bizarre. Whereas Rocky Horror is a musical, the lines to this movie, you just go, where did that come from? What was that all about?
Are you gonna sing, George?
Yeah. So we'll sing Row Row. So when Row Your Boat comes up, you guys sing
That song
Row,
I
Row,
love
Row.
so much.
And that song I love so much, right? Yeah, like in New York, a lot of people know every line to the movie. In New York, they do. But what's true is there'll be a scene in here where we freeze at the table, and you guys count to see how long we hold our breath. That's one thing. And then if there's any popcorn to be thrown, and there's a popcorn scene, just throw the popcorn if you want to do that. But there are a lot of scenes in the movie that just blow your way, and honestly, it's life-changing. Troll 2 has become a religion for many people, and this is a life-changing experience. So I'd like to welcome my daughter, Lindsay, here tonight with her friends that came all the way down, and we even have... Thank you, Lindsay. And also, a really special thing happened to me tonight. I'm a dentist back in Alabama. I guess you guys might have read that in the paper. And a good friend of mine who was my next door to where I lived in dental school, Ellen Fellini, is here tonight. And I haven't seen Ellen in 33 years. So this was unbelievable. I mean, if I leave tonight to see Ellen, thank you for bringing your family out. She has 5 boys, and Dr. Fellini and Dr. Fellini. So, yeah. So anyway, you guys enjoy Troll 2, and please stick around for a quick teaser. We had to home make it because we didn't bring the DVD with us, so we actually filmed the DVD on the computer, so we can put it up tonight on our own DVD. And then please ask questions at the end of the night and enjoy this movie.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, George. So, guys, what did you think of Troll 2? Well, we're going to take a couple minutes now here and get George to answer some questions. So come on up, George, and we'll talk about the movie, and we'll get your motivation for the scenes and things like that. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask?
Where to begin?
Exactly. Why?
What was the green sauce made of? Was it like applesauce or something?
Yeah. Yeah, that's somebody had it was molasses and food coloring and some kind of glycerin all together, something like that. Honey and glycerin and all that stuff. Yeah.
Where was it actually filmed at?
Well, the movie was filmed out of Salt Lake. It was all up in Garsman's Pass, up where Solitude and Brighton are, right out of Big Cottonwood Canyon. A lot of that, the aspen trees. And then Morgan, Utah is where, it's about 50 miles outside of Salt Lake, is where Nilbog is. And then Heber City is where all the house was that we were all running around in.
So all the Midwestern Mormons then?
Everybody in the film, yeah, that's a great question. Just about everybody in the film was LDS except for me. I was living out there having a good time in the Wasatch.
So George, how many people from the cast have you actually found now?
We have actually, the only person that's not living out of the whole cast is Sheriff Gene Freak. He passed away about 3 or 4 years ago. But Grandpa Seth is still alive, and we're in touch. And also the drugstore owner, he's 84 now. And Grandpa Seth is 81, and Grandpa Seth is 74. And yeah, we contacted. We had our Salt Lake. This is our 17th city, like I said, that we've done this screening. In Salt Lake City, we had 21 on the stage at our reunion back this summer. It was really great. We had 21 people. We had about 2 or 3 of the little people there. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
What was the release date?
I think we made the film in August of 1989, and then you remember that, Lindsay? Yeah, I know. Lindsay was 4 years old. But let's see, and then the release date was like in January of 91 or 90 or 91, something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Was it actually like in the box office or anything like that?
Yeah, it was actually released in Europe, and the posters that you'll see outside were released in Great Britain. And we found those, but and then it came out on VHS in the early 90s. Never showed in the United States until Michael and I brought it back this past year, and we talked to Landmark Theaters, and Landmark re-released it on their theaters, and so we were about 10 of their theaters this summer, and they want to show it some more. We always get requests on MySpace all the time on Michael's MySpace page. People want us. Orlando wants us. This is a premiere in Florida, by the way. It's funny, yeah. How about that?
So in between takes, you and the other actors and actresses, you ever get together away from the director and the writer? It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, he was asking. The question was in between takes. We all, the actors and actresses, get together and ask, what are we doing here? But for the most part, we got a script. It was about that thick, and it really, honestly, the whole cast members. The whole cast. The crew, not cast. They were all Italian, and Claudio spoke a little bit of English, but for the rest of them, and Claudio, the photographer, director of photography, spoke fairly good English, but everybody else knew hardly any English, except the costume gal was. She spoke pretty good English. We later found out that she was a black Emmanuel.
Yeah, Laura Jemser. Yeah.
Yeah, she was actually the Emmanuel.
So was that Laura
She
Jemser?
did porn films in Italy. We didn't know it at all. Okay.
How did you get involved with this project?
Well, I some of y'all know I'm a dentist back in Alex City in Alabama, and but I was doing a pedodontic residency out in Salt Lake City at the time, and I was the last part of the decade that I was there. I moved out there in the early 80s. And one of my patients just said, you got that look, George, you ought to just try out for a film, go out. They're having a film up in Salt Lake. And I remember getting an agent, and she said, why don't you try this thing? And so I went up these stairs, and there were all these guys going to read my part. And I walked in this room, and honestly, you guys, you couldn't see Claudio from here to where you are, John. I mean, it's like 9 feet away. The room was so full of smoke, and in Utah, no one smoked cigarettes. It's completely, it's the healthiest state in the world. And I remember everybody in the room smoked. Everybody was just smoking away. And all I remember, no one spoke English, and they gave me a script, and I just read what I could, just cold. I think I did the Piss on Hospitality scene in like my English, and I got the part. And I remember the next day, like in the paper, they quoted me. I went, oh my gosh, what do I do? And so it was 3 weeks of shooting, and I got paid $1,500. It's a non-SAG film. I worked in between patients. I'd do about 3 or 4 days of shooting, then I'd go back and see some patients for a few days, and then I'd go back and do a few more scenes, maybe at night or whatever. It was fun. It's just something I did, and look what's happened to it. It's all over the world. Really.
Did your check bounce?
No. No, that's funny. I think one of the crew came in to see me for a toothache later, and he bounced his check. Yeah. So.
So did your patients willingly know to go see you while they knew that you were making this movie?
Well, no. See, actually, when I did the film, it was like just going. It was a lark. I just did this thing on a whim. It was just something unusual for me to do, and I just, I did it. I didn't tell anybody much about it. And so what happened was, I walked off the set 3 weeks later, and it's just something I had done, and and so basically everything was on the shelf, and the dust was collected on those old VHS tapes, and I forgot about it. And then until my brother-in-law called me, and he knew about Googling way back before anybody knew what Google was, or Amazon.com. I can remember, it's right before everything, cell phones and everything was going on in the 80s. And he said, George, your movie's out. And I went, oh, God. And then my sister called me and I said, well, what's it like, Dana? And she goes, well, George, I got to tell you, I got to break the news to you. She says, it's bad. And I said, well, how bad is it? She says, it's really bad. So I have similar stories like all the rest of the cast members, and all of us really ran from this thing. for, really, I just, I put it away. But I had these video glasses, I remember, back in the 90s when they started showing on, Showtime, Cinemax, and HBO, and Star, and all that. So a lot of my patients would come in, and my patients would say to me, some of them would say, "You was good, Dr. Hardy." and so I would start showing it on my video glasses to them. And, I'd be extracting a tooth and watching me doing this horror film. So, anyway, like I said, Michael, I wish he was here because he and I, I'll tell you about that in a second. But we re-met. I know it's getting late, but we re-met, almost 2 decades later. And he told me, and a lot of everybody has stories like, we ran from this thing. But now what's happened is we're just having a blast with it. We've embraced it, and now we're doing this documentary and been all over the world. Literally, we just got back from Budapest and Hungary, and we were in Rome this summer. We were in London and in Paris and Austria, meeting Troll 2 fans, and then of course we've been all over the United States. And I'm doing this on weekends, and we've been funding this ourselves right now. But
was there ever any discussion as to what the film was trying to achieve? I mean, you had an Italian film crew that was doing a sequel to a movie that had nothing to do with the original movie whatsoever, and it almost seems like they didn't even really push for an American release. So what was like the film crew's approach to doing all this, and what were they trying to achieve at the time?
Yeah, he was asking what was the film's crew's approach to this, and what were they trying to achieve, and he was just saying, to Troll, and then now Troll 2. What we found out later, after we did a lot of research, why is this thing called Troll 2? Because originally the movie was supposed to be called Goblins, or Goblin. But we found out in Italy they'll take a movie, and if it's done good, they'll Troll 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a Troll 3 out now. And, although they do, Claudio wants to do Troll 3, wants to bring us back, and it had to be called something different or something. I don't know. But they were just trying to get on the coattails of Troll so they could sell a bunch of Troll 2 videos and make money off this thing. Right back there, yeah.
Did your Italian director make any more movies after that?
Oh yeah, Claudio. Yeah, well, Claudio's. I'm 53 and Claudio's 56, and I didn't know how old Claudio was when we were doing the film. But this summer I got to see him. We flew back, and Michael and Claudio got back, and we surprised Claudio when I came over because he didn't know, and it was kind of cool re-seeing Claudio and Rosella after all these years, and some of the cast members. We went back, and Claudio's been in doing film since he's always stayed in it. He's done about 30 or 40, and just this past year, and now they've all been B-rated, but he's just done a Schwarzenegger type thing over in Italy, and it's doing really well. Michael told me just the other day he's doing one that's hitting it's in the top 3 box office right now in Italy. So that's good that Claudio's getting some recognition. And I just want to say because of what happened, Michael and I went over. You got to understand, their culture is totally different than ours, and the intent was to bring Claudio back to the United States to show him what's going on with the craze. I mean, we took him. What we did was we flew him back to L.A. and also Salt Lake to let him know, that this is happening in the world, but they didn't understand it, and they didn't understand that he is the director of quite possibly the worst film ever made, or the best worst film. So the night before we're about to break the news and show him this teaser, the day before we're about to leave, we were really nervous about it, and the translator, our translator, she spoke beautiful English, and the only one over there, we kind of stuck with it, and she understood both cultures pretty well. And I think she'd lived in the States for a while. And she just let into Michael and me. I mean, she really let Michael have it and said, "How dare you come all the way over here and make fun of him, as the director of this film." She took it the total wrong way. You don't understand. He's taking his business, his work seriously. And so we went, "Oh, you don't understand. People love this. They love this film. Look at everybody. We're almost 2 o'clock in the morning. We're still watching this stupid thing." And so finally, we showed him the teaser, and honestly, he had a great sense of humor, and he laughed at himself, and Rosella as well, she's the one that wrote the movie. And we had so many questions. I mean, Rosella, come on, where did that line come from? You got it. I mean, really, come on. Where did that come from? And because it was so hard for us because we still couldn't, we were still trying to ask the questions, and we had a translator there, but she wasn't that great. The one translator that we were talking to left, and then we got a new translator. We kept asking her questions, and we never could get, it's just an adult fairy tale, she would tell us. And she said, I'm from Druid origin myself, and I don't know what the hell that means. We still don't know. So Michael's now we've got a Mormon translator that's, LDS people, they all have translators for everything. They learn their language when they go on their missions. So he's got this Italian translator that's doing it for a low cost for us, and she's translating it. So we'll find out what the real thing is. It'll be on the documentary. Yeah.
How soon till the documentary's?
Yeah, well, we've got 200 hours of filming now, and this will be tonight. We're hoping to get some footage. John's filming y'all, and I'd love to talk to the one couple that I don't know if they're still here or not, but there was a couple that was staying out in the lobby, and I enticed them to come, and I don't know if they're still here or not. It'd be fun to find out what they thought about this thing. But it'd be April or May, we hope. Michael's going to come from L.A. with his wife, and his little girl was just born on my birthday. And they're going to live in Alabama for a while, and they're going to put this thing together.
I just wanted to thank you for doing your part to warn people against the dangers of vegetarianism.
I'd like to ask Dr. Bellini what she thought about this being a nutritionist. She's got a doctor. What did you think about the whole concept of the double-decker and the vegetarian?
It was way more than a double-decker, man.
I know it's getting late. We'll take a couple more.
Have you thought about marketing your own mouthwash? I mean, the green,
Oh, man, that would be great. That's a good idea. Something like Scope,
Did anybody in the cast actually think that they were going to be famous from this movie? Or
No.
Any ideas that this was going to lead into something?
We really did. Honestly, no one in the cast. I mean, none of us were actors. I mean, Michael was the only one that had done a few things. And Connie, my daughter, she's done a lot of Disney films, and then the preacher has done a lot of film work and all. But for the most part, we just did it and walked away from it, not thinking anything would happen until. I'll just briefly tell y'all what happened, and then I just want to tell you what's going on with all the cast members, and then we can close it out. What happened was April 2006. I'm watching HBO at 5 a.m. in the morning. There's Troll 2 on, and I have this premonition out of the blue. I said to myself, somebody other than a friend or patient is going to call me about this thing. Sure enough, that afternoon I get a phone call. This is in the paper this past week down here. I get a phone call from a guy named Joe Scott. He's doing a radio documentary on Troll 2, and he says, George, I'd like to, interview you about this thing, and he goes, the world phenomenon around. Well, phenomenon? What are you talking about? Phenomenon about Troll 2? I didn't even know. I had never watched the whole thing all the way through. Never. And he says, do you realize what's going on with this thing? I'm going, no, I don't. He says, well, if you don't believe me, go to IMDb right now, which is the Internet Movie Database. So if you type in The Godfather, the #1 website comes up. It's IMDb, Internet Movie Database. It's millions of people go to that site every day if you want to do anything about a movie. #1 worst movie of all time was Troll 2 at that time. So I thought, oh man, there is something going on to this. And I just said, by the way, where are my, cast members? And he says, well, he gave me phone numbers of everybody. Michael, who I was dying to meet again because I knew the kid was gifted. Honestly, Michael was a gifted child at age 10 when I worked with him. I'd love to catch up with him again. And I wanted to know what happened to some of the older cast members. And so I look on IMDb and it says cast reunion in Provo, Utah, April 13th. Well, I'm reading this April the 11th. And I hop on the plane and I go out and I meet 8 of the cast members that night. Michael wasn't there. And little do we know, the Wicked Witch, she was doing she wanted to do a documentary on this thing, and we said, great, let's have some more fun with it. Then Michael calls me, who was not able to attend, and says, George, how would you like to do this with me? Let's take off and do it. I said, I'm in. Let's have some fun with it. So from there, what's happened, we've had, 17 cast reunions, from just me being here alone to 21. Sometimes we'll have 6 or 8 cast members come, but we've been to New York a couple of times, in Boston, sellouts, and like I said, everybody knows it. And so, and then we went over to Europe, and you know, I know it's getting late, but we're going to have a documentary pretty soon, and we hope what'll happen is we're going to go to MGM. We got to buy like $10,000-$20,000 worth of footage from them. This footage that you saw here, you don't have to buy it in just a teaser, but when you use it, you got to go, you know, got to get the money up to do it. What we hope is on one side we'll have Troll 2, on the other side it'll be our documentary and have the 20th anniversary reunion, and then we're going to have a big party in Morgan and Nilbog and do all that. So yeah, I really appreciate y'all coming out for this. My goodness, you know, in a place like Pensacola, and it's amazing. But go to our website, www.bestworstmovie.com, and you'll get a whole more of a feel about it. I mean, people have just taken off, and it's been great. But I want to thank my two girls coming and all their friends, my niece, and all of you to come out tonight. And thank you so much, too. I really appreciate this.
We want to say thank you to George, too, so give him a good hand. I really appreciate it.
So there it is, Troll 2, the majesty, the pride and joy of Italian horror cinema. Is it Blood and Black Lace? Is it Four Flies on Grey Velvet, Bird with a Crystal Plumage, Phenomena, Tenebrae, Suspiria? No, it's Troll 2, of course. How could we forget Troll 2? So check out their documentary at bestworstmovie.com. Best Worst Movie everywhere. You know, probably screening on the Netflix and the Rokus and the MySpaces and the Facebooks, whatever might be in fad and vogue at this point. And I know you're going to have a good time watching it. So until next time, have a great day.